All right, folks. Randy Reed here for Dojo Nation. Dojo Max supported these little Tuesday tip of the day. I'm really having a good time doing these. If you're watching this on YouTube, you might want to subscribe down below and hit the little what they call it notification thing, and we'll let you know when they're coming out. So today we're going to talk about a real touchy subject. I've got friends that I've gone round and round with this, and there's kind of two different camps on it. So we're going to talk about it a little bit, and I'm going to give you my opinion, and you can take it or not. So, paid in full, PDFs, give me the cash. Here's your discount. There are business models that rely on cash sales. There's business models where people call their students' houses on Sunday night and ask them to prepay for things. And some of these people are making more money than I am or ever did. I'm not saying that it doesn't work. You can't argue some of the results on it. Now, I've also seen it cause some problems. It caused some problems in my organization years ago. Here's my concern with this and something that we need to understand. If you give me $5,000 for 4 years of martial arts training, I owe you either 4 years of training or $5,000. It's as simple as that. If for some reason I can't provide the 4 years or the 3 years or the 2 years or the 1 year that's left, I owe you the money. So we call this lesson liability. So if someone's running heavy paid in fulls, I know of schools that have literally millions of dollars of lesson liability. And we saw this coming around with the pandemic. There were several people that wanted refunds. I know some of our schools, especially when it came to their after school summer camp type programs, wrote some heavy refund checks. And so they covered their liability. They had the money to do it. Where the problem comes with this, I'll give you an example. My good friend, Grandmaster Bill Clark, he believes in the cash up front system. Now, Bill Clark is a legendary martial artist and a legendary businessman, and he knows how to manage his money. And therefore, he can handle large influxes of cash. I also know a guy in Wisconsin that had cashed all his guys out and then moved out of the country. I know of a guy that went to, I don't remember which way it was. I think he was in Florida, cashed a bunch of people out, moved to California. They came and arrested him and took him back to Florida for fraud. You need to understand the responsibility of cash and the liability of it. So if you're depositing your $5,000 and you're drawing against it as you're supposed to, as Master Clark says, once somebody's paid cash, they made all their payments. Well, good, unless something comes up wrong. On that type of thing, if you're not that type of person, there was a system going around a few years back that was showing you 700 different ways for everybody to get cash out of their students, but they never once explained the responsibility or how to manage money. And you had people with 50, 60, 70 students cashing out 40 of them, having a record month, not realizing they have record liabilities, and they're going out and buying a fancy car, putting a down payment on a home. All of a sudden they realize they've only got 20 students paying them, and they go out of business. Now, the second part of this is if you're using present sales to fund things from previous sales, it's my understanding that's called a pyramid scheme. If you don't have the ability to cover your lesson liability, that's what happens in a pyramid scheme. They take money in, they blow it, then they have to bring more money in to keep it going. If you're running that type of business, you're just falling out of a 15-story building and passing the 10th floor and going, wow, this isn't so bad. You've got to have the business acumen the money management skills to handle cash if you're going to push a lot of cash. The other thing to think about on this level is we had this happen to us quite a bit in my organization, and it might be parochial. I mean, the Midwest people are little have different values than East Coast, West Coast, South, some of that. But if we have parents going around town, and we had this happen several times, especially when they had large, the one that strikes me is we had a couple of them that were groups of kids, 4 or 5 kids, where they wrote a check, $19,000 to our school. Happened twice in 1 week. Now the second check, about 10 minutes later, the father comes screeching up in his car and came through the front door. No uncertain circumstances wanted his $19,000 back. But when you have people going around town saying, well, I just wrote a check at that karate school for $19,000 or 5,000 or 3,500, the word gets out. It's expensive. It costs a lot. You go there, you may have to write a huge check. And so there's some of that liability too. So as you're building your system of pricing, make really sure that it matches your values. Make sure that you can handle the liability. There's nothing worse than going to the grocery store and have somebody come up to you and say, you stole money from me. There's nothing worse than having parents pick at your school. And I've heard of all those things happen. Haven't happened to me, but I've heard them happen. So be very, very careful. It's like unlimited credit cards. You get yourself in credit card trouble. You can get yourself in trouble with heavy discounts for cash also. So that's my Tuesday thought of the week. I know it's not exciting or fun. And if you get the proper number of karate guys sitting around having a beer, and some are doing paid in fulls and some aren't, you can get yourself some pretty good discussions and arguments going there. Maybe next week we'll talk about test fees. Watch how we go with that one. All right, Randy Reed over and out here. Tuesday tip of the day. I hope it enlightens you a little bit.